again, thank you so much for joining me tonight. My name is Kate Langan, and I am a librarian at Waldo Library at Western Michigan University. Tonight, we are going to be talking about citation elements, and we're going to be talking about citation elements, meaning how do we decipher them, and then also how can we read different types of scholarship to be able to find those different elements. And the whole goal tonight is to think about those elements so we can, one, read different databases and different platforms like library search so we can understand what we're looking at, but then also for when we're doing our own scholarship, what elements we need in order to correctly cite. So tonight, we're going to just be doing these building blocks about citations, and then we're going to be moving, what we're going to be learning today is, so like the basic elements, how to identify those elements in library search, different types of materials or elements you need for citations, and then how to adapt those elements to different citation styles. So we will touch briefly on different citation styles like APA or MLA. And if those are new to you, don't worry. It's just a way to show you how different styles function differently with the different elements. But really, once you understand the building blocks and the elements of a citation style or any at all, then you can really just quickly adapt them to any citation style. So very quickly, I had a few quick questions just to get to know you guys a little better. These are anonymous. They won't show up on the screen. You can even just tell me if you want, since there are only 3 of us tonight. So how comfortable are you reading results in library search? So when you're going into library search, our search platform at the libraries, you're going to type in your search, and then you're going to be given a list of all sorts of information. So when you look at that wall of information of all those citations, does it give you anxiety, or are you pretty adept at what you're looking at? Because really what we're going to be learning tonight is it really enhances and helps your proficiency in interpreting those results. So I was just really curious. I don't actually see the results live, so I'm not going to, I'll look at them later. I'll just be curious. And then my next question is, how proficient are you in creating citations? So the first question was in interpreting them, and the second one was in creating them. So when you're writing a paper and you need to write a bibliography or do in-text citations, where do you fall in that comfort zone? Are you an honorary librarian? Of course, I do make quite a few mistakes because, yeah, anyways, citations can be annoying. Are you very comfortable, or is it really overwhelming and confusing, or are you brand new and understand nothing? Is anyone brand new to citations in this workshop? No? Okay. Okay. And one question I didn't ask, if you don't mind me, if you can type it in the chat, what year are you guys in school? Or are you in undergrad? Are you a graduate student? Are you... this will help me kind of understand where to tailor this workshop. Second year PhD, graduate student. Okay, awesome. So perfect. Thank you so much. And then my next question is, what citation style are you guys using for your program? APA. Okay, perfect. So tonight we will focus on APA. And I will show you that. I'm just going to jump ahead really quickly. We do get into some specifics about APA. I created this last fall, so you might want to we'll take a closer look at that tonight. Okay, so some of the stuff I'm going to go over might be very basic, but I think we can just kind of advance through that part quickly, and we can get into APA more specifically. But I think it will be nice that as graduate students for you to understand that, well, let me ask you this. Do either of you intend to publish anything ever in any time soon? Do you intend to publish or like co-author or do a presentation for the public where you might? Yes, but not soon, probably next year. Okay, so I will articulate this presentation by saying, when you publish, you will not be able to choose the style you want to publish in. Usually what you will need to do is follow the style of the journal. And you might be required to publish in any range of citation style. So for example, I've published in APA, MLA, Harvard. I've published in Chicago. And I think that's it. Maybe Turabian, but still. So knowing that each citation style has the same fundamentals, and then knowing where how to read and interpret and compile those is helpful. So I just wanted to say that. All right, so let's move on very quickly. So the main elements of a citation are author or editor or creator, right? Oftentimes we will move beyond the concept of author and think about creator. So that's one of the main core pieces of a citation. Then we move on to the title, right? The title of the publication. And we have to remember that, as you know, in APA, that there will often be two titles, right? There will be the title for the article and there will be the title for the journal. And so anticipating that distinction will help you in either reading a list of results or creating your own citation. But then also knowing what to look for in a journal article, for example. Date of publication, right? So when was the work created? And this element can vary as well. Sometimes it's just the year. Sometimes it's the month and day and year. Sometimes it's just not there. You just move on. Location of publication. This is starting to phase out ever so slightly. Where an item is published, depending on what style you use, is very important. This, especially for MLA. MLA really likes location of publication. But I would say that for APA, location of publication can also include the volume and issue number, because we want to know that when in the run of the volume of the run of the journal, when that was where it was published. So that volume and issue number is critical for a journal article. Also, method of access. This is something that is really starting to change quite a bit, especially in the last few years when we've seen the use of a DOI emerge. And we'll talk about DOIs a little bit. Do you guys know what DOI stands for? Or what it looks like or what it might be? Or is it completely new to you? Okay, so not sure what it stands for. So DOI stands for Digital Object Identifier. I'm going to move this around because I keep looking to the corner because you guys are in the corner, but I'm doing it here. Okay, there we go. So DOI is Digital Object Identifier. And what that is there's an organization that assigns a unique number to every single article published or book chapter published. So that unique number, that digital object identifier, becomes a way for us to trace a piece of information. And you will see that it starts to emerge, it's becoming very prominent in the citation styles. APA requires a DOI, and if a DOI isn't available, then you have to include a URL. And the reason why DOIs are preferred is because a URL is not stable. And by stable, I mean when you go into a library database and you type in and you find an article and you grab a URL, that URL becomes defunct when you close your browser. So it's an unstable URL. A DOI, however, is a unique number attached to that article and will never go away. No other article can have it. And it is also searchable in Google. You can take a DOI if you find it, but don't have anything else from the article. Take the DOI, put it into Google, and you can find it. You can plug it into Library Search, Google Scholar, and find that article from that number. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I'll show you more examples. So that method of access, like how you access the work, they might require that you use a URL or DOI, right? In a citation, they want to know the method of access so the reader can potentially find that piece of work as well. Because remember, all these elements are provided for the one purpose, which is to point the reader to that material. Because when we're reading a paper, a reader is going to read the paper and see the parenthetical citations in the paper, which is an abbreviated piece of information. It's usually just the author and page number and year, or just author and year. Well, that full citation is the map that the reader follows to access that article. And that is the ultimate goal of a citation or a reference list or bibliography, what have you. And then finally, date of access. This is going away. I've been watching, like APA and MLA used it. It tends to be going away now, but sometimes people will ask for date of access because they want to know when you accessed an electronic work. Typically for electronic works, it's typically to maybe information changed, like if there was a reproduction or republication of some information, or if it was re-edited, right? You want to be able to have a timestamp of sorts. So it becomes almost like an edition, like a book is published, first edition, second edition, third edition. There might be slight changes throughout those editions. You include the edition number to indicate which version you accessed. So that date of access does the same thing. So far, so good. I know it's probably very basic, but I just want to, since I'm recording, I just want to make sure it's available in the ether. Okay, so moving on, and let me know if you have any questions. So the three most common types of works that you will see in library search when you're do your search and reading, you'll find books, you'll find articles in an edited volume, and you'll find articles in a journal. And I make the distinction between an edited volume and an article in a journal only because the information looks a little differently. So in an article in an edited volume, the key word is editor. Often you will need to include that editor's information in your citation. And then articles and journals and some other important information like we mentioned, you'll need to include journal volume, journal issue, page numbers. I guess I forgot to mention page numbers, but page numbers are not required for all. It's not a basic element. It's highly relevant though. So I'm going to skip this question because we've already asked, but I'm going to just jump into library search because I just want to show an example of how information looks differently for different types of sources. And just talking about your familiarity or comfort level with looking at these. If we didn't have these indicators up here, book and article, we could use some indicators or some clues on this page to figure out what kind of source this article was, or what type of source this information was. So here I have title and author. Author is repeated, and then I have this place of publication, and then I have the publisher, and then I have the year and the first edition. So that's indicating to me that it's a book. Just in case I missed that book mentioned there, it's just good to know. But if I come down to this article, if that article weren't listed there above the title, there are a few things that I could be like, oh, this is a journal article because over here, I just want to highlight on my screen, I see volume 65, and then in parentheses, it's issue 2, and this is kind of like a APA format. Not completely, but sort of. And then I have page numbers. So that's indicating to me that this is a volume of a journal. I do also have the journal title here, and I do also have the article title. I just blanked for a second. The article title up here. So there I have the two different articles, two different titles. I have article, oops, I did not mean to open that, sorry. Let's close this out. Okay, Examining Readers' Critical Literature, that's the article title. I have the authors here just below, James Chisholm. I do have the city of publication and this database subscription. That's typically not included in a journal article citation, but it's there. And then I have the journal title, year of publication, volume, issue, page number. And again, you'll notice that this pattern will repeat depending on, it becomes very predictable. So knowing how those elements kind of present themselves in library search is a huge step forward in understanding the basic elements of citations and interpreting library search. So I'm going to go back, and if you notice, just very quick before I go back, reference entries are going to look very different, right? Again, we have volume, page, issue, and then you would know that those elements are slightly different for a reference entry, and you would be able to identify the elements and then create a citation accordingly. Okay, I am still going back. Okay, here we go. So again, this workshop is intended for people newer to citations, but really we're just going to skim through this and then we'll get to the good stuff in just a second. So how do you read a citation? You read a complete citation from left to right. So I've given you two examples of a journal article, right? So I took that information from library search and then I formatted my own citation here. So notice I have author, then I have journal, or excuse me, article title, then I have journal title, then I have volume, then I have issue, then I have year, and then page number. Here is an example of APA. So notice it already becomes a little different. One of the bigger differences is the year of publication. Notice that in APA, it comes right at the front, whereas in MLA, it's towards the back. Some other, and we'll go through some more specifics, but you'll notice that even the way that we use italics from one citation style to another changes. I'm going to get to that in just a second, but I will show you some more examples. So when you're reading a citation, so for example, in a class, you might be given a bibliography to read, or for a research project, you might be given a bibliography. You'll need to interpret that information and go find that information and then bring it back to class. So knowing what you're looking at and how you're interpreting that and how to interpret that information will just make the entire process easier. Then you'll want to read from left to right. You want to pick out those elements like I said. You'll want to take cues from punctuation and placement of important elements, and you might be able to figure out what style it is if that's necessary. But typically you'll want the creator, author, or contributor, title of the work, whether or not that's the journal title or the article title, publication information such as volume, issue, edition, editors, what have you, and data publication as well. And then again, the punctuation change according to style can indicate key elements for you. Finally, you'll want to figure out from all that information what kind of information that is. So is it a book chapter, or an article? This step is really important because, and I didn't give it too much space here, but when you figure out what type of information you are looking at, that tells you how to find it. So if you're looking at a book, you will want to go into library search and do a book search, a title search for books. If you are looking at an article, you will want to go into library search or a specific database and do a title search of that article. You might find that the title is so vague in either the book or the chapter that you need to pull in other pieces of information to refine your search. So for example, you might realize the author is important and you'll want to add that element into that author into your search. Maybe you realize that you're looking at a second edition of a book. Well, you'll see that in the citation and know to add that into your search strategy in your advanced search and library search. So yeah, this is like really a small space on the page, but it truly does help you identify your research strategy next. So if you are truly trying to access that piece of information, knowing those elements will be helpful. And again, as a reader of a paper, you'll want to make sure to make it as easy and as accurate for your readers as well. So, and then you'll want to know if there's a DOI or URL. Sometimes some of the work will be will be done for you, and you'll be able to just grab that DOI and just go for it. I'm not going to worry. This is a great, quick 1-minute video on how to read a citation. I'm not going to worry about that too much, just because you are both in graduate school, so that'll be, I have a little too elementary for you. So now we're going to get into the actual styles. So there are 3 very common, most widely used styles: APA, MLA, and Chicago. APA is social sciences, sciences, and business typically. MLA is the Modern Languages Association is used by humanities like religion, philosophy, English, literatures, etc. And then Chicago is used for social sciences and humanities. And it makes me think of history. Chicago uses footnotes quite a bit. MLA and APA do not. So very quickly, this is where I wanted to just kind of give you an overview that the styles, even like if we were to go back up to this page, to this these 2 examples here, they look pretty similar, but in reality, they are really different. And styles, the differences between APA, MLA, and Chicago are substantial. They don't look like it, but they are. So for example, the use of the the ampersand, that is a huge element in APA. The fact that APA only uses the first initial of the first name versus MLA when they use the full name. And these become very particular elements for each style. Another very critical distinction is that in MLA, they use all caps for all formal nouns, or for all nouns. So the space that race creates, right, everything's capitalized. APA, it is not capitalized. The title of the article is not capitalized, but the title of the journal is. Another big distinction is the use of commas versus periods. And then also how we format the volumes and issues and page numbers, and then the use of a DOI. So there are substantial changes, differences between the 2. One is no more important than the other. The theory is that MLA emphasizes the importance of the author, whereas APA emphasizes the timeliness of the article, and that's why the date is prominent in APA versus MLA when the date is stuck at the end. Those are just some very basic reasons why, but there are a few more. The use of footnotes and endnotes are typically only in Chicago. APA and MLA do allow them, but they tend to dissuade them. And then another big difference is the use of the DOI or URL. And again, like I said, the access date is different. So another thing that is very different and that we're going to look at very carefully in these handouts is that the way a works cited page or the way a bibliography is formatted according to a particular style also changes, but also the way that that information is cited in text, in parenthetical in-text citations, is also dictated by MLA or by the style. So the style dictates everything. The style also dictates the way in the margins of a paper and how headings are added into a paper, for example. We're not going to go into that, but I will show you resources for that. So before we go to APA, I want to just we'll walk through some specifics. I want to tell you a little bit more about a DOI and what they might look like. So the DOI it's about 10 numbers, and it's both numbers and letters, so it's an alphanumeric sequence, and it's a unique number given to an article. You don't have to apply for it, it just happens, it's just automatic. All DOIs start with 10, and with the number 10, and these are the three ways that you might see it. It might look like a URL in a link, in a citation like we saw above. It might have the DX in front of it or not, or it might be doi.org, or it might just be DOI at the beginning in text, but not a link. So so they're more, and I'll show you a few things. So if I were to go to, let me just use this one as an example. So if I were to go to this URL, just to show you the magic of DOIs, I'm just going to open another tab. I just put in my DOI right up. Do you see that? I just put the DOI in right up there. And I just said go. And I didn't test this, so I'm assuming it's going to work. Yep, so there we are. It brings us to the article. So the DOI can be found. Notice that we are now in the article in a database, and here we have the DOI right there at the ready, along with a very complete citation, right? Part of the complete citation. If we were to go back to, I'm going to go back to library search, just to show you. I don't know if this will work. It might work. I don't know. We'll find out. What's the name of it? Emotions and Storybooks. Interesting. It didn't bring back the right article. But if we go into, I want to show you where in library search that you can find the DOI. If it's available. Not all articles have a DOI. Most of them do. They're starting to work backwards. So I would say 20 years out, like if you're working with an article that's 20 years old, chances are it will not have a DOI. But notice on the record page for this article, I scrolled all the way down and I can find the DOI right there. And you could hypothetically grab that and go to Google and search for that DOI, and there it is right there. It just popped up. So that is the magic of a DOI. It's pretty phenomenal. Yes, I'm a DOI fangirl. Does that make sense? Do you guys have any questions about that? So we can go in. So whether or not you're in library search or if you're in a database or even Google Scholar. I don't know how much you guys use Google Scholar, but you should be able to find the DOI to the article. Even if you're in the article itself, you should, it's typically at the bottom of the page or at the top with the rest of the citation information in the PDF version of the article. So it should be readily available. If it's not available, chances are it doesn't have it. Don't worry about that. If the DOI doesn't exist, that's okay. In that case, you would just go back to the practice of using the URL. So for example, let me go back to this example. So if you are on this page and you want to cite this article, you would, I'm scanning because oftentimes they'll have a link that says permanent link and you can use that. Or you could grab this URL up here. I would caution against that. I would look for a permalink. Probably doesn't have a permalink because it has the DOI. I hope that makes sense. I can find a different one. Let's try here. So here's this article in the database. Here's the DOI right here. So I would grab that. But also here's the paper itself. Here's the PDF version. So I'm just going to take a minute, like anything, to find that DOI. And there it is right up at the top. I can't highlight it because it's a PDF, but it's in that box right there. So just know that the elements are typically somewhere on the paper itself, and they're typically somewhere in the database itself. When you are jumping from database to database, your job is to take a minute, scan the environment, make sure you get the lay of the land, figure out where everything is. And I just had to do it for that one APA SiteNet database because I don't use it that much. And it just takes a minute to acclimate. It just brought me to Unpaywall. Okay, so Unpaywall just gave me the article. So there's the date. Okay, I see. So even after living and breathing in databases for my career, I still need to take a minute to acclimate. All databases are typically structured the same way. They'll have their search engine, they'll have their search tools on how to refine your search, and then when you get to the results list, just like library search, they'll have it organized in specific ways, depending on the types of articles and type of resource. And then when you get to the article itself, you'll have to look around for where the PDF is, where to export a citation, where to find the DOI. Stuff like that. So let me know if you want to show me more examples. But now, well, if you guys have questions, you can jump in. But now I want to go into APA, and I want to download this guide right here. I don't have time to go through all of it, but I do want to walk through the major parts of it. And I'd like to start this part by asking what exactly, or what do you struggle with most in APA? And I think I'm gonna stop the recording here because I can then format that part of the workshop for how to read a citation, and then we can just focus on APA.